Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with it. We just got back from New Mexico. We just got back from California. That is not a question that we should be even asking. Just look at the work that he does. Look how he's delivering for the American public. Look, that article that we're talking about is hearsay. It's salacious. That's not what we care about. We care about how are we going to deliver for the American people? How are we going to make their lives better? That's what the president talks about. That is his focus. And that's where we're going to continue to focus on.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, we have to take a trip on over to Washington, D.C. Why? We're headed on over to D.C. today because we have to speak on Karine Jean-Pierre. We're going to talk about her because she has officially stabbed the Democrat Party in the back and abandoned them to pull a Jake Tapper and to cash out on the fact that she was behind and a part of one of the greatest acts of treason in American history, which was the covering up of Joe Biden's mental decline. And I think it's important that we continue, or I should say that we start articulating it that way. Over and over again, throughout the course of this year, we've been hearing about this is the greatest cover-up in American political history, the decline of President Biden, right? Him not actually running the country. We all know he wasn't really running the country, and everybody covered it up and played stupid and acted like his mental decline wasn't really occurring and pretended as if he was running the country when he was not, right? This is not the greatest cover-up in American history as it pertains to covering up Biden's mental decline. This is the greatest act of treason in American history, in which Karine Jean-Pierre was complicit, Jake Tapper was complicit, all of the DNC lunatics in the Democrat Party were complicit, all of the DNC media, I don't care who you're talking about, CNN, MSNBC, Politico, ABC, CBS, they were all complicit in this. And them being complicit in this great act of treason led to a man-made, deliberate migrant crisis. Who pulled the trigger on that and gave the okay to do that? We know it wasn't Biden once again because he wasn't running things. We'll never know who was actually behind it, outside of generally, broadly speaking, the Democrat. But who really gave the go-ahead to do that? We don't know. You look at the way that they completely crashed the economy and now how Trump is trying to save it. Going back to the migrant crisis, all the lives that have been lost, people who are no longer with us that should still be here and would have been here with their families had Biden not opened the border. Had whoever was running the country not opened the border. This was all treasonous behavior. And I wish there was some way that these people can actually be held accountable. But we all know that's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. But it's very frustrating knowing that and understanding that it's never going to happen when it should. Now what we have here, and I want to get into this article, is this coward, Karine Jean-Pierre, who spent 2 years, I believe Jen Psaki was the press secretary for Biden the first 2 years, and then the last 2 years was Karine Jean-Pierre, obviously, right? This woman spent 2 years looking the American people in the eyes and lying to you, just straight lying to you with a straight face, knowingly lying, and now wants to turn around and say, I'm a registered independent now, and here's my tell-all book to cash out on her treasonous behavior. These people deserve nothing more but a jail cell. That's what these people deserve. They deserve CCOT. That's what they deserve. They deserve CCOT for what they've done to this country, how they've completely wrecked it. And now here we are with Trump trying to pick up the pieces. And as he's trying to pick up the pieces, they're continuously trying to sabotage this man from picking up the pieces. And they're continuously sabotaging him through judicial tyranny that we're now seeing coming from the Democrats, right? But let's get into this article here. I haven't had an opportunity to read it yet. Normally, I like to do that beforehand, but it's not a long article. So let's all take a moment to go through this together. Karine Jean-Pierre is a coward. She's a coward. She's a treasonous thief, as far as I'm concerned. Now she's trying to cash out on being treasonous. The article title reads, the headline reads, Karine Jean-Pierre switches affiliations to independent, releasing new book about broken Biden White House. Let's get into this here. Allow me a moment to just simply scroll down. Former Biden White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Wednesday revealed she was registering as an independent and announced a forthcoming book about her time in the tumultuous administration. Jean-Pierre, a longtime Democrat Party operative, is urging Americans to step outside harsh party lines in her new book, Independent, a look inside a broken White House, outside the party lines. According to the book's description, the description also says the former Biden press secretary didn't come to the decision about leaving the party lightly. And I quote, until January 20th, I was responsible for speaking on behalf of the president of the United States, she said in a statement, according to the Associated Press. At noon on that day, I became a private citizen who, like all Americans and many of our allies around the world, had to contend with what was to come next for our country. I determined that the danger we face as a country requires freeing ourselves of boxes. We need to be willing to exercise the ability to think creatively and plan strategically. So this coward is still trying to frame her exit around fighting Trump still. That's really what this is. That's really she's a coward who's abandoned her party after being complicit in the greatest act of treason that we've ever seen. But as she's being a coward and leaving, but trying to cash out on leaving the Democrat Party through writing a book, she's still essentially blaming it all on Trump. If you're really taking it to heart what she's saying here, we need to step outside of the box of party lines, to deal with, what has become of the country now that Trump has taken over. This is just completely ridiculous and nonsensical, man. These people never stop. Look at this clown, Weekend at Bernie's right here. This man was never the president. He never ran the country, and we never will know who was actually running the country. Jean-Pierre also shared the news in a video posted to Instagram, where she explained that the new book was her answer to a way forward for Americans who feel distraught about the current Trump administration. I want to curse so bad. I can't stand these people. And I quote, and this is what she said in her Instagram video. You know what? Now that I think about it, because I do have the video, let's listen to this treasonous coward, Karine Jean-Pierre, speak for herself. It's going to sound like nails on a chalkboard, so forgive me for playing this. But let's just hear it for ourselves. Let's hear what she had to say for herself. This isn't a long video, so let me pull this up for you guys right now.
Hi, I'm Karine Jean-Pierre, and I am the author of a new book that's coming out this fall called Independent. It's coming out on October 21st, so please do grab it. And the reason I wrote this book, coming out of the White House, serving as White House press secretary was an honor and a privilege. But since I have left, the people that come up to me, strangers that come up to me just across the country as I'm traveling, and sometimes right in my neighborhood, at a grocery store, supermarket, airport, my daughter's school, the number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? How do we protect vulnerable communities among us? What do we do next? Because we don't have answers here. That's what they ask me.
No, you don't have answers. Your only answer is to cash out on your treasonous behavior. The Democrat Party literally has zero answers. I don't believe anybody's asking her anything. This is clearly, obviously, just her pitch to sell the book. Nobody's walking up to Karine Jean-Pierre in the grocery store asking her, how do we move forward? What do we do now that Trump is in office? This is just part of her stupid spiel to sell this garbage book.
And this is my answer. And what I mean by that is, in an era of misinformation, disinformation, the regressiveness of social policy, what we're seeing currently.
How do you say this when you were the chief person pushing the ultimate misinformation and disinformation on behalf of Biden? This woman is the queen of all lies, who has the audacity to lecture us in this moment about misinformation and disinformation. This is so hard to, this literally is like listening to nails on the chalkboard.
Right now, what I have decided to do, and I really have thought long and hard about this, is to follow my own compass. And that's what I've done. And that's what this book does. And here's the truth. And here's how I will lay it out to you. I think we need to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan. And the way that I see moving forward in this space that we're in right now is, if you are willing to stand side by side with me, regardless.
I can't. Let's just get back to the article. I really can't. There's maybe I don't know, 30 seconds. I can't do this anymore. These people need to be in CCOT so bad. Let's just get back to the article. Let me pull that back up right now. I cannot listen to this garbage anymore. I can't do it. Jean-Pierre routinely dismissed questions about Biden's fitness as a White House press secretary as early as 2022. Because once again, she's the queen of all lies. She knew exactly what she was doing.
It would seem that people in this White House knew that President Biden was slipping, and it was hidden from the American people. So who ordered White House officials to cover up a declining president?
I know that that is a narrative that you love, and
No,
wait,
10 days,
hold on.
he did a press conference
Hold
at
on.
NATO.
Hold
I'm
on.
in it. There's all these things that
Hold
I need
on.
to finish, and then 10 days later, I'm dropping out.
Okay, okay, you're asking me like multiple questions here. Let me, wait. First of all, there's been no cover-up. I want to be very clear about that. I know that's the narrative that you all want. Wait, no, you can't. Okay.
I've been with President Biden for 5 years.
Are you going to let me answer the question?
Would you at least admit that the debate was not just a bad night?
Wait, can I answer the question?
Yes.
All right. Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. To your first question, it is not a cover-up. I know that is the narrative that you all want. It is not. I'm going to say this again, and you're going to hear directly from the president. I hope you listen tonight. I think it's going to be incredibly powerful and important. The Oval Office, presidents, as you know, when they make speeches from the Oval Office, it's because there are important moments that they want to directly make sure that the American people hear from them, and it's obviously going to be done in prime time. I would listen to the president. And then what I will say is that it is not easy making a decision that the president made on Sunday.
That was a great lie. In February, Jean-Pierre accused Democrats of unleashing a firing squad on the former president, who was forced off the Democratic presidential ticket last July after weeks of pressure from his party. And I quote, "I had never seen anything like it before. I had never seen a party do that in the way that they did. And it was hurtful to see that happening. A firing squad around a person who I believe was a true patriot, a person who I believe did everything he can for this country," she said. She lied on behalf of Biden all the way down to the ship sinking. She lied all the way to the very end on behalf of Biden, a man who was never actually and truly president of the United States. What I want to do is that I want to close this video out with this, because all this proves and shows to me is that the Democrats are over as we know it. I've stated this on numerous occasions, but I want to state it again. I believe that if Trump is able to hold on to the trifecta that he has, which is Republicans controlling obviously the White House, but also the House of the Senate. If the midterms come and pass and he's able to hold on to this trifecta throughout the entirety of his term, that would be the first time since 1977, since Jimmy Carter, that a president will have had a trifecta throughout the entirety of his presidency. That hasn't been done since 1977. I believe Jimmy Carter was president between 1977 and 1981. So I guess you would count the last year, right? So that hasn't been done since 1981. If Trump and MAGA is able to pull that off, I'm telling you now, what we are looking at is 12 years of Republican dominance. You are not going to see a Democrat in the White House for the next 12 years. I promise you that. I promise you that. That will speak volumes if he's able to hold on to a trifecta for the first time since 1981. That means the American people are officially done with the Democrats. And all signs are already pointing to this. Realistically speaking, I feel that even if he doesn't hold on to the trifecta, next election in 2028, a Republican is still going to win, as they should, because Lord knows we do not need a Democrat in office. But if they do hold on to that trifecta, it's over, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. And the Democrat Party, as we know it today, will cease to exist. And on the other side of that 12 years will be a whole set of new players and a significantly more moderate Democrat Party, right? But I want to play this in closing. My man, Stephen Miller, he's one of my favorite people out of the Trump administration. This reads, Stephen Miller explains the Democrat agenda with pinpoint accuracy. Let's get into what Stephen Miller had to say as we bring this video to a close.
What do you think happens to the Democrats as a whole? They took things way too far on a lot of fronts. Where do you think their party goes from here?
Part of the reason why they've resorted to lawfare as effectively their entire political strategy is because they have an unsellable ideology. In other words, they're committed in a popular democracy. They're committed to a series of beliefs that are like 10, 20% in support. So they have to be corrupt to get anything done. Men and women's sports, as the president says, completely open borders to the worst criminals on the face of the earth, people guilty of child predation, murder, even people who are guilty of violent torture and beating and killing and just senseless slaughtering. And they're let in without limitation for 4 years, right? A political party that's committed to raising taxes on everybody, right? A political party that is against the police, that wants to defund the police in your community, that wants to let rioters run free. And the punching bag for all of this are the hardworking American citizens. The people who do it right, they're the ones who are getting the brunt of it every day, economically, socially, culturally. So it's an unwinnable political message. If we can accomplish these reforms to just have a free and fair society, the Democrats are doomed. They cannot compete or operate in a fair system, which is why they have to rig it.
And I 100% agreed. And I mean, let's be honest at this point. It's very clear it was rigged from the very beginning. Let me tell you guys something. I'm still shook to say it on YouTube, okay? We all know what happened in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020 in that last election. It's very clear at this point. And when you take all things considered in between the election and then the fact that Biden wasn't even the one actually really running the country this entire time, you look at the way they've completely collapsed the country, the Democrats, what they've done, and now you look at this judicial tyranny that they're engaging in, the lawfare, endless lawfare prior to the election that they engaged in. I mean, the Democrat Party is the party of tyranny and destruction at this point, period, right? And it seems as if finally the American people have woken up to it. And I just really believe that they don't stand a chance at recovering. They need to go through a complete destroy and rebuild period. And more than likely, we're going to see a 12-year run of Republican rule. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Lord knows I don't ever want to see a Democrat back in office again. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So please, thank you for joining me today. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.